Alright, I'm going to briefly go over the PPE header installation on a supercharged IS-F. So first you have to remove the intake piping because the motor is going to move and rotate, so anything connected to the body such as intercooler pipes and everything else has to get disconnected. So that comes off, this pipe comes off. I disconnected the supercharger itself. There's 4 bolts. That way when you're moving the engine around, because everything is very tight in here and this connector down here. But either way, disconnect this. That way this bracket moves up and down because obviously the supercharger attached to that coupler can't move. You can actually twist it out of here if you need to, but I've found that this is the best way to do it, so you can just kind of get your engine up and down. Like I said, the belt, obviously you have to take the belt off. But that's it. That's really all you need to do. First thing also, after, you definitely want to disconnect the dipstick tube. There's 1 bolt. So you want to take that off first before you get underneath and start pulling stuff off. This will probably be the last thing I bolt back in. Otherwise you'll be climbing back up here to take that off. Let's see. Yeah, so really the important part is just the supercharger, because if you try to lower the engine, obviously this is still connected to the piping and it's not going to go very well. And one other thing I just want to show you. This lower pipe, the bracket actually, let's see here. It comes really close. You can see it's just nicked the pipe. So the engine, I was able to lower it down enough to that point. I didn't need to lower it anymore to get the headers off and on. Most of it's the subframe, but you'll see how close that is. So yeah, that's all you have to remove. So we're gonna transition now, if I don't fall, to the bottom side. Real quick note also, this is all I needed to remove the headers and install the new ones. Variety of 12 wrenches, different sizes or different shapes, 1/4-inch extension, swivel, and a 12 deep socket. That's it. I mean, you can get in there with your hands if you have small hands. So that's all you need for that. Here, like the directions mentioned, you want something just holding the front of the engine. The issue with this is it's not centered, so the engine might go kind of to the side, and that might be an issue when you're installing or removing headers, but I managed with this, and then I also had another one in back I kind of positioned to alleviate some stress and change angles and all that. Motor mounts, let me find this bad one here. So the car is 120K, it's a 2012. Driver's motor mount is done. I thought I had a bad strut on that side, but it looks like this is probably what's causing the clunking noise. So if you're going to replace with stock, fine. If you're going to do the aftermarket, fine. But plan on doing that when you have all this apart, because it's a million times easier to get them out. Now getting them in without removing the subframe, you have to put in each piece separately. And then you can angle it and then blast that top nut on with the impact, and then position the whole assembly in there together. So yeah, that's tip number 1 of the day here. Let's see. I had my headers coated by Swain Tech out of New York. It's a very thick coating. Had a lot of luck with it on a lot of other turbo projects and cars. It really holds the heat in and insulates. So check into them. It's Swain Tech, New York. I think that's called the White Lightning coating. So as you know, I am using my stock midsection and stock rear portion here because I doubt anyone has ever done this. What I'm planning on doing is dynoing the car and then removing this section and dynoing again and seeing what kind of loss is built into this pipe. I was thinking of replacing this with like actual 2.5 Y and then 2.5, because I think this is only 2 or 2 1/4 to each muffler. or leaving this and just doing a dump somewhere, electronic dump, depending upon the power levels, but we'll get to that later. Let's see here. Here I've plugged up the rear O2 on the driver's side. Passenger side is going to be the wideband. That goes right through the same hole. So I'll have wideband in there, and then obviously the primaries are in there. What else am I missing here? Let's see. The O2 extensions, don't forget those. It's too much light. Because you have to do that before you install the headers. You'll see they're kind of way tucked up in there. So O2 extensions for sure. And then you route them along the trans on each side. There's one, and there's the other one. So your O2 sensors will reach.